January 13th, 2026, and a 77-year-old man sat laughing with friends at a hot pot restaurant in Shenzhen, China. Those who attended say he covered the bill that night, treating everyone to tender lamb in a flavorful broth while smiling for photographs and handing a friend his personally signed calligraphy reading, True Kung Fu. Nobody at that table realized they were sharing a final meal with a legend, because the next day, Bruce Leung Siu-Lung died from heart failure. One of the most underrated martial arts actors in cinema history vanished just like that. A man who had once stood alongside Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and T. Lung as one of Hong Kong's four dragons. Goju-ryu karate served as his primary discipline, supplemented by Wing Chun training, and his story involves a star who disappeared from film for 16 years over a single political decision before roaring back in one of the greatest comebacks the industry has ever witnessed. What most people don't realize about Bruce Leung is that audiences worldwide remember him as the Beast from Kung Fu Hustle, a role he landed in his mid-50s. 3 different lives in the film industry had already come and gone by that point. The story of how he reached that moment and everything he sacrificed along the way exposes just how brutal Hong Kong cinema could treat its own legends. Leung Choi-sung entered the world in Hong Kong in 1948 as the eldest of 12 children in a single-parent household, and from the beginning, survival demanded everything. So many younger siblings depended on him that weakness simply wasn't an option. Cantonese Opera employed his father, where martial arts training functioned as a grueling discipline that broke bones and forged warriors rather than serving as a casual hobby. Performers in that tradition needed fighting skills, acrobatic ability, and the capacity for physical feats that would make modern stuntmen wince, and that environment shaped Bruce Leung's entire foundation. Fundamentals came from his father while Leung remained a child, but the training didn't stop there. Multiple masters across Hong Kong contributed to his education, and Goju-ryu karate eventually became his primary fighting style and the bedrock of his screen persona. Wing Chun added another dimension to an already dangerous arsenal, the same art Bruce Lee studied under legendary instructor Ip Man. Real fights filled his teenage years, street confrontations that left scars and built the kind of reputation money can't buy. 15 years old, and Leung already worked as a stuntman in Hong Kong's booming film industry, with kicks that could shatter ribs serving as his specialty. Those legs became his calling card because they delivered speed, precision, and devastating power all at once. Directors noticed, casting agents noticed, and the streets of Hong Kong noticed most of all. Bruce Leung didn't play fighters on screen while pretending off camera. Fighting defined who he actually was. A story follows Bruce Leung wherever his name appears, and according to multiple sources within the Hong Kong film industry, 13 armed attackers once surrounded him. Details shift depending on who tells it, with some claiming a gang dispute and others suggesting wrong place at the wrong time. The ending never changes though. Bruce Leung walked away while all 13 attackers did not. Stories like this circulate constantly in martial arts circles where legends grow and details balloon into myth. What makes this particular tale stand out is that nobody in the Hong Kong film community ever challenged it. Stunt coordinators, fellow actors, and directors who worked with Leung all treated the account as fact, because everyone who watched Bruce Leung move understood something immediately. Cameras didn't capture a man pretending to fight. They captured a fighter who happened to work in front of cameras. His kicks weren't choreographed for visual appeal, but designed to end confrontations. Goju-ryu provided devastating striking power, while Wing Chun contributed close-range precision and trapping techniques. An industry packed with performers who could fake martial arts convincingly found Bruce Leung standing apart as someone who never needed to fake anything, and that reputation followed him for decades until one particular director tracked him down for the role of a lifetime. That wouldn't happen for a very long time though. July 20th, 1973, and Bruce Lee died suddenly in Hong Kong at 32 years old, sending shockwaves through the global film industry. The biggest martial arts star the world had ever seen left behind a vacuum that producers scrambled desperately to fill, and what followed became one of cinema history's strangest phenomena. Bruceploitation had arrived. Every martial artist in Asia who could remotely pass for Bruce Lee suddenly found themselves renamed. Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee, Bruce Lai, Dragon Lee. Shameless names attached to cheap films fueled relentless exploitation because studios prioritized cashing in before audiences moved on rather than honoring any artistic legacy. Bruce Leung got swept into this wave regardless of his preferences. Producers slapped Bruce onto his name, billing him as Bruce Leung, Bruce Liang, and Bruce Leong, depending on which market received the film. The Dragon Lives Again from 1976 actually featured him playing Bruce Lee in the afterlife, battling Dracula, James Bond, and Clint Eastwood in a premise as absurd as it sounds. What separated Leung from the other clones came down to one thing: actual fighting ability. Most Bruceploitation actors imitated Lee's mannerisms and copied his yells, while Leung delivered genuine martial arts that stood entirely on their own merit. Critics noticed and audiences noticed. Copying Bruce Lee never entered the equation because a legitimate martial artist simply worked in an era that forced him to trade on another man's name. My Kung Fu, 12 Kicks, Black Belt Karate, Kung Fu, The Invisible Fist, and the Golden Harvest production Broken Oath alongside Angela Mao and Sammo Hung all showcased a performer operating at his physical peak. Acting didn't define those performances. Mastery did, and that's when the role arrived that would make him a household name across Asia. Bruce Lee created one of martial arts cinema's most iconic characters in 1972 with Chen Zhen, the vengeful student who avenges his master's death in Fist of Fury. Chinese nationalism and martial arts heroism became synonymous with that character, and playing Chen Zhen meant inheriting a legacy rather than simply landing a role. 1981 brought Bruce Leung into those shoes. The legendary Falk told the story of martial arts master Huo Yuanjia on television, with Chen Zhen occupying a central role. Audiences across Hong Kong, Taiwan, and mainland China found themselves captivated by Leung's portrayal of the patriotic hero because authenticity radiated from every frame. Wire-enhanced spectacles didn't define his fight scenes. Grounded demonstrations of real martial arts performed by a man who had spent his entire life perfecting his craft defined them instead. Massive hit status followed the series, and Leung reprised the role in the 1982 sequel, The Fist, cementing his position as one of the era's biggest martial arts stars. Constant work filled his schedule, including Jackie Chan's Magnificent Bodyguards, which became Hong Kong's first 3D film, along with choreographing action sequences for Jim Kelly in The Tattoo Connection. Fame, respect, and a career destined to continue for decades all belonged to Bruce Leung by the mid-1980s. One decision ended everything. Mainland China had banned Bruce Leung's films, with the communist government showing no appreciation for his work, and that ban blocked millions of potential viewers from ever seeing his performances. Unacceptable circumstances for an artist at career peak. Traveling to China to meet with officials and persuade them to lift the ban seemed logical at the time, opening a massive new market for his films. Catastrophic miscalculation. Fury from his fans greeted Leung when he returned from the mainland, particularly in Taiwan. Fierce anti-communism defined Taiwan in the 1980s, with any engagement with the People's Republic viewed as enemy collaboration. Bruce Leung had committed the ultimate betrayal in their eyes. Immediate blacklisting from the Taiwanese film industry followed. Audiences who had packed theaters to see his films suddenly refused to purchase tickets, producers stopped calling, and directors moved on to other stars. The man once mentioned alongside Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan found himself unemployable almost overnight. 1988's Ghost Hospital marked his final film from that era. Silence followed. Bruce Leung vanished from cinema completely, not for a year, not for 5 years, but for 16 years. Shenzhen on the Chinese mainland became his new home, the same country whose overtures had destroyed his career. Business reinvention followed with a hotel called the Baolong and eventually auto parts trading. The martial arts legend who had kicked his way through Hong Kong's golden age of kung fu cinema now checked guests into rooms and negotiated spare parts deals. Most careers that end this way remain ended because the film industry overflows with forgotten stars who burned bright before vanishing without a trace. Bruce Leung's story hadn't finished though. The right director just needed to remember him. 16 years away from the camera deserves consideration. An industry that forgets people after 16 months watched Bruce Leung transform from one of Hong Kong's biggest action stars into an auto parts dealer in Shenzhen, while an entirely new generation of martial arts cinema emerged without him. Jackie Chan became a global phenomenon, Jet Li conquered Hollywood, and Donnie Yen rose through the ranks. Bruce Leung ran a hotel and watched from the sidelines as the world he'd helped build carried on like he never existed. A filmmaker in Hong Kong still remembered though. Stephen Chow grew up watching Bruce Leung movies, and for the man who would become one of Asian cinema history's most successful filmmakers, Leung represented more than another martial arts actor. Childhood hero status defined Leung in Chow's mind, a symbol of everything authentic and powerful about Hong Kong kung fu films. 2004 brought Chow's most ambitious project into development with Kung Fu Hustle, a loving tribute to 1970s martial arts films blended with signature absurdist comedy. A villain unlike anything audiences had witnessed before needed to anchor the film, someone capable of appearing both ridiculous and genuinely terrifying with martial arts credentials beyond question, someone who could make every other performer on set look like they were playing pretend. Chow tracked Bruce Leung down in Shenzhen, where the mid-50s martial artist lived quietly, and offered him a role demanding something Leung had never attempted in his entire career, playing the bad guy. The Beast served as the character name. Surface appearance suggested a disheveled, flip-flop wearing old man with an unkempt look and a noticeable belly. Beneath that unassuming exterior lurked the most dangerous fighter in the world though, a master of the toad style from the Kwan-Lun school capable of annihilating armies without breaking a sweat. Leung accepted the role, and when Kung Fu Hustle premiered, audiences worldwide lost their composure completely. The Beast became one of martial arts cinema history's most memorable villains. Fight scenes showcasing Leung's authentic abilities in ways CGI could never replicate captivated viewers, particularly the showdown against the film's heroes. 56 years old, and Bruce Leung moved with speed and precision that embarrassed performers half his age. Real belly, real flip-flops, absolutely real kung fu. Kung Fu Hustle became one of the highest-grossing martial arts films ever produced, earning critical praise and audience adoration, while Bruce Leung, after 16 years in exile, suddenly found himself a star again. A darker chapter exists in the Kung Fu Hustle story that most fans never encountered though. Career revival and introduction to an entirely new generation of viewers notwithstanding, Bruce Leung publicly refused to ever collaborate with Stephen Chow again. Interviews featured claims that full salary payment for the role that resurrected his career never arrived. According to Leung, no negotiation over payment occurred, just a figure presented with expectations of acceptance. Additional disputes extended beyond money. Chow allegedly mocked Leung's physical appearance on set with jokes about his belly. More seriously, according to Leung, Chow questioned his martial arts abilities, an insult that allegedly concluded with Leung physically demonstrating exactly how capable he remained by dropping Chow to his knees. Payment allegations met dispute from Chow's company, but Leung never retreated from his position. Street fights, blacklisting, and 16 years of exile had created a man who refused to let anyone question his honor. Public knowledge of the feud spread throughout Hong Kong's entertainment industry. Chow's public acknowledgement of Leung only returned after death, with a simple tribute posted reading, "Forever remembering Mr. Leung Siu-Lung." Some wounds never fully heal, even between people who created something extraordinary together. Work continued for Bruce Leung after Kung Fu Hustle. 2010 brought Gallants, another love letter to Hong Kong's Kung Fu golden age, where he played Tiger, an aging martial artist waiting alongside fellow disciple Dragon for their comatose master to awaken. 18 days and a minimal budget produced the film, but something magical emerged despite those constraints. Directors Derek Kwok and Clement Cheng later admitted that without Bruce Leung and Shaw Brothers legend Chen Quan-tai in the cast, the film wouldn't have happened at all. Action choreography avoided wirework and CGI entirely, allowing Leung's authentic abilities to shine through completely. Past 60 years old, and movements that seemed to defy his age still defined his performances, though his characters now acknowledge the aches and pains that decades of punishment inevitably produce. Best Film honors at the 2011 Hong Kong Film Awards went to Gallants. Bruce Leung had proven once again that genuine talent could overcome any obstacle the industry manufactured. Tai Chi Zero and Badges of Fury alongside Jet Li followed. Television returned in 2020 with the series Heroes. The iconic Chen Zhen role received one more reprisal in a 2001 Chinese production. Exile had truly ended. Chen Zhen hosted Bruce Leung's final years alongside his second wife Song Xiang and their two children, both of whom trained in martial arts and carried forward their father's legacy. His first marriage to Eurasian singer Irene Ryder had collapsed during the 1980s, a casualty of constant traveling and eventual exile. Later interviews captured Leung reflecting on a career that had given him everything, stripped it all away, then returned it again. The edge never dulled, belief in traditional martial arts authenticity never wavered, and skills his father drilled into him at the Cantonese Opera all those decades earlier never faded from memory. Jackie Chan's response to Leung's passing captured what Bruce Leung meant to everyone who worked alongside him. "I couldn't and didn't want to believe it," Chan wrote. "In my memory, he was always a kung fu master who was proficient in many traditional martial arts, each with its own unique style. He applied his lifelong learning to film and television works, making him an excellent action director. As an actor, he created so many classic roles, deeply loved by audiences and admired by us, colleagues. Brother Leung, it's snowing in Beijing, the sky is overcast. I miss you." Something almost poetic defines Bruce Leung's story when examined fully. Poverty shaped his birth and training transformed him into a weapon. Stardom arrived during an era that exploited his talents while demanding he trade on another man's name. A single political miscalculation cost him 16 years of his career before defying all odds and mounting a comeback. Most martial arts actors fade from memory within years of their final film. Bruce Leung became a legend twice, first in the 1970s and 80s, then again in the 2000s. Authentic skill never expires, genuine ability always finds its moment, and the greatest performances sometimes emerge from people the industry had completely abandoned. The fighter history forgot refused to stay forgotten. That legacy fits better than any other possibly could.